Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Down the Backstretch episode here on Spotify, your one-stop shop when it comes to SBRL news and driver interviews. I'm your host, Claymore, joined today by my co-host, Shifty, and today we're going to be having our first guest on the show, and he's been known to ruffle feathers and still get a pretty good finish on track. Good guy Carter, also known as Iron. Welcome to the show, Iron.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So, to kick this off, we just finished up this most recent race here at Phoenix. Started out as a pretty decent run for both you, Shifty, and you, Cardis. So that entire race was probably one of the most controversial finishes I think we've seen in D2 history, and if not, it's somewhere around the top 5. So you guys want to kind of give me a rundown of your thoughts as you're running through the race, as you were starting to get near the closing laps of the Phoenix race.
Well, it was a hell of a race. I mean, 50, he was out there. He was fast. I could tell him. I'll tell him that over and over again. He was definitely fucking fast. But struggling with just the cars and the setups all race, it was horrible. And I was ready to just take my P3 finish, just move on. But caution came out after an incident with hose, and I just said, "Screw it. There's no other way to pass. I'm just going for it here." Got in there. Monkey also was going up high. He was sliding up. I got into the back of him. And then what I wanted to do, I wanted to get into the quarter panel of Shifty. Not to turn him, but as some of you may know, that when you get into someone's quarter panel, it helps them get the nose pointed downwards and they get a better drive off. And if I did that, then I could also just lean on him too with it. And then I'd have somewhat of a chance to make the pass. But that didn't happen. And then we ended up 3 wide because Monkey was in the wall and it was just a wreck. I came out front, but I knew there was going to be a penalty for that. But I was just pissed with how the race played out itself.
Yeah, the fumes kind of still resonating here in the studio, but yeah, that race was an interesting one. I didn't get a good like view of it because I was mostly focusing on one driver, but from what I saw, that finish was a pretty interesting one. Yeah, sometimes things just like that kind of happen. It's kind of unfortunate. But on a more positive note, you started owning a team recently. You owned a team in D2 called Bruh Bunch, and then you changed it up. You brought it to D1, and now it's FEM. So just kind of talk to us about like what it's like to be a D2, like a D1, and also partial D2 owner of a team in the SBRL Cup Series.
Well, I've always wanted to own a team. Ever since when I first started doing this as more of a fun side hobby little thing. I enjoy it a lot. I feel like as a person who has a lot more knowledge and takes this a bit more seriously and looks more in depth with things, I feel like I can really spread that out to drivers. We don't currently have any drivers on my D1 roster yet. That is more of a choice. We need to find the right people. I want drivers who aren't going to take this like, a full-time job, but drivers who want to have fun and win at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, owning a D2 team was nice. I like it, and I still do like it, but there's not a lot of opportunity there. There's not a lot of people that are willing to take the next step and, go out there and win championships.
Yeah, they're all kind of new.
Yeah, lots of new drivers, not too much talent running around down there, as I would like.
Yeah. What else can we talk about? Well, speaking of teams, there's been a lot of shifting around. There's been a lot of moving throughout SBRL. Do you have any kind of like specific moves that you think was either a positive or a negative? Anything recent that you kind of think deserves some spotlight?
I mean, immediately what comes to my head is Weenie Head Junior Motorsports. I mean, 50 and Sub, I think it was Sub. They went over to F7. And I mean, I don't blame them. M7, they're great. They have a lot of speed in their cars. A lot of great drivers came from there. I would know. um, that was surprising to me. Hose clearly isn't happy about it. I don't know what the specifics are about it, but I mean, I think he belonged on Weenie Hut, but I'm not gonna judge him for it. It's his choice, and it seems like based off today, it was for the better. I mean, he's still succeeding like he always has been in D2.
Yeah, Shifty, I gotta admit, you're probably one of the more fan favorite of the D2 drivers. So it's good to see that you kind of run up there and show some pace and stuff. I mean, Iron as well. I mean, you're very very good at competing in especially the D2 field. You're in the Rona series. Um, yeah. I kind of want to talk over a little bit of history here for Iron. So you started in BBR really kind of late in season two. So not you. I think we're like somewhere in the playoffs in season two, right? When we raced BBR.
Well, if we're talking about my SBRL career, no, I mean, did start D2. I started with I think it was the 37 car for V12 there. I ran maybe 3 weekends, 2 weekends at the end of season two. I was not in playoff contention or nothing. No.
Yeah, there was like from what I see here, there was 2 starts and 1 win. So I mean, of course, I wouldn't expect it from just 2 starts that you'd win every race. But I mean, a 50% win average is a very good thing to have.
50%
Uh,
win average where?
season two, but that was late in the season, so it doesn't really count. And then
I
season
only
three,
won. Are you sure that's right?
yeah, I had for when I found it was 2 starts, 1 win.
It wasn't a week win, just a regular BBR win itself.
Yeah, I think so.
So
Yeah,
that's like 1 for 20. That's like a
I think
five
so.
percent win rate.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm still learning. I'm still learning how the
You know,
BBR stuff
this
works.
place is old. This place is old, ancient.
Yes. Season three, 7 starts and 3 wins. And you also finished fourth in Rookie of the Year standings. So a little bit of a more like progression, and I don't remember how many races. Were there 10 races in the entire like
Yeah.
um season? Yeah. So I mean, still a pretty good amount of wins compared to, of course, your first season in SBRL. And then this is where I get into the oval stuff. So this is when you really started to kind of show. So you got 2 wins in season four, with about 16 starts. Showed up for most of the races, won 2. I think you made it into the chase, and was it seventh finished? Correct? I think it was seventh.
Um,
Um,
I don't remember, but that sounds about right. Yeah.
do you remember when what your thoughts were when you guys switched from BBR to uh like oval racing?
Actually, I was one. I didn't exactly help set it up, but I was the one who brought the suggestion to life. BBR was going through a really rough time, and they still are. They completely ruined the game. And I suggested to V12 that we should go to ovals. I was ecstatic about it. I mean, I'm not the greatest super speedway racer when it comes to pushing and working together like that. Compared to people like Fox and Nerf, who just completely destroyed the BBR era. But no, I was
Yeah.
so excited about it. I knew that I could really shine through, and I didn't perform up to what I was hoping I would have performed, but I definitely did, put my foot in the door as one of the better drivers there that season.
Yeah, that's always a good thing to do. Right off, bright and early, you always want to make sure you can get your what you said, like you said, the foot in the door. And this is when we start. Here's the kicker: season five ran 20 races, which I believe is actually every single race, if I can
I
remember correctly.
I think there was
From
22. I
22,
know I know I missed a
basically every
couple
race,
races. Yeah.
7 wins and winning the championship. So, do you remember just like how that season was like? Like, did you feel like you were championship contention in the first couple weeks, or was it more of like a, okay, I guess, or was it more of a kind of I feel like this isn't my season. Kind of start to the season 5 championship season.
I'm always extremely confident when I go onto an oval. Um, I didn't know I was going to win the championship, but I knew I was going to be right there. I mean, there was no doubt. As long as I kept showing up to races. Nothing really told me that I wasn't going to win the championship. My confidence level was always a all-time high every time I got to the racetrack.
That's a good trait, and also sometimes a downer. And also, then move on to season 6, which is, I believe, when you started owning your D2 team, right? You owned
Uh,
Revenge in season 6?
yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. Um, D1, 12 starts, 3 wins. Didn't really show up a lot, but you still got 3 wins. And I think believe this is the season where you got the most wins in a row, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. In the
Um,
two.
yeah. I was actually very happy with that. I came back. I think it was this. I think it was that season. I was forced into retirement. Um, I was dealing with, working outside of school, and I was putting in a lot of hours, and I was really trying to set up myself up for my future now. So yeah, I was forced into retirement. I could not show up every single week, and I didn't have a D1 ride at all, so I couldn't even go part time. But I did come back, and I was so excited. I missed being in the race car, and I think I did prove my point by coming out and somehow getting 3 wins on 3 tracks that I never thought that I probably would have won at.
Yeah. I mean, that 2 scheme was something that I personally liked. That might not be something that other people were aware of, but I really liked that number 2 auto trader scheme. So it was pretty cool. I remember racing you in I think it was Road Atlanta, and I saw you fly up to the lead on the last restart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good season for you, especially with only having 12 starts, 3 wins at 12 starts. Like that's basically that's road racing stats for you. That they're nothing close to real life. And then also in D2, you ran about, I think it was 5 races, and you also got 2 wins off of those. So I mean, pretty good season. Just sucks that you kind of got forced into retirement somewhere around kind of the early part. And then
The
season 7 was kind of an interesting one because you finished in D1 you finished P2 in the 500,
mhm.
and right now you're 8th in points.
Yeah.
And you also won probably one of the closest finishes in SBR history. Next to that one finish, I don't remember which track it was at. I think it involves Clef or V12 of some sort.
I think it
But
was
it was
Atlanta.
yes, and it was um probably the closest finish I've seen at Daytona. Deadly got turned right, and you were also like side by side with him. V12 trying to get under Deadly, and you kind of got turned around. That finish was probably one of the craziest finishes I've ever seen. And can you like walk me through like how like what you were thinking both before you come to the line and after the race was over?
Before coming to the line, I knew I was one of the fastest cars out there today, but I didn't have a lot of help. At least that's what I remember. I knew I was struggling, but I could definitely hold off the other drivers. And I ended up back in, I think it was P3, P2, one of those. I knew I was pushing Deadly, and I was fighting Shifty, Deadly, and V12. And I knew that was going to be hard, because I know Shifty and V12 didn't need the win, and they wanted to get Deadly that 500 win. Which I was also okay with too, but it's just something in me that tells me that I can't just settle for a P2. No. I love Deadly, but I had to go for it. I worked too hard. So just coming off that corner, I can't exactly remember what happened. I knew I was on the outside there. And I got a bit of a push from V12. And I had the run. And just coming to the line, I looked up. I had the angle and it looked like I was ahead. And I was freaking out, man. That was so close.
I wish you had a better
Deadly was
angle of that
also
finish.
I was upset because I didn't have my clipping service on. I didn't have metal open.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. I was spamming F8 and I didn't even realize that I didn't have metal open, which is surprising because I always have it open.
Yeah,
But
I don't have anything to
that
clip with, so I don't get to do those kind of things.
it was like an hour I think it took for us to figure out who actually won that race.
I
As
think it
much
was
as I
yeah.
yeah, took us a while, but I could tell that I was ahead if we used the logic and just I was happy, but I also felt bad for Deadly. I was okay with splitting the win with him.
That's just kind of like the kind of thing I do because I mean
Yeah.
he is kind of retiring, so it would have been nice for him to have kind of that Daytona win. Um, so we talked about all the good kind of parts, and then we talked about a little bit about earlier about how the most recent race went on. Let's talk about this. There's been this kind of controversy with you and Clef for a long while now.
Mm-hmm.
So like to shed some light on that. So when did when did this feud start, and how aggressive has it gotten? Like what's the status of it now?
I can't give you an exact point on when it started. I mean, even back when Clef was Watermelon, I've had some incidents with him on track. But usually it just started to boil over. I mean, one race I'd get upset with him, the next race, probably the same thing. And it just get worse and worse and worse. And I mean, Clefsy's not the guy to just, get pushed over like that, especially on the racetrack. So he's definitely wasn't happy with it, and clearly I ain't either. Um, but I gotta give it to him though. I mean, he's a great driver. He definitely has his moments. But when it comes to off track, I just, you know, one small thing boils into something big, and there's not really much we can do about that.
Fair enough, yeah. Um, the one thing that I've always noticed with you especially is that you kind of falter near the early part of the season, and then you kind of just ramp up like a lot more during the late parts of the season. Is that sort of on purpose, or is it more just like just how the dice roll in fate?
I don't want to say it's more of an on purpose thing. I want to say it's more of a schedule thing. I mean, we look at our D1 schedule this season. We have tracks that I'm not happy with, or tracks that usually I'm not the best at. Like we have Homestead, we have Darlington, um, Chicagoland. Tracks I'm not really great at, but I can definitely hold my own. Um, I usually will not shine bright in these early stages, but we look to the later in the season. I mean, we have road courses. We have Bristol. We have Charlotte. We have Nashville, Daytona, Vegas, Dega. These tracks I'm usually where I shine.
So you say you're more of a short track road course kind of guy.
I mean, I can do it on any track, and I think we've all learned that here. But I used to be a major road course guy. I mean, I would spend tons of time practicing on road courses. Then I realized that it's usually not that's not really going to help me, especially in SBRL, where we only go to maybe one road course a season. But back in the BWT days, it was great. It was important to be good at short tracks. I excelled at those, and it just really plays out for me, especially late in the later seasons when you need to be on your A game.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of times where you just kind of have to like capitalize on other people's kind of I call it laziness, but sometimes people just don't have the time to practice. But practicing is definitely a very important part. Actually, do you have specific tracks like that that you recommend that SBL try to go to, or do you have any tracks that you personally really like to race on?
A track that I love to race on. I love Vegas. I love Martinsville. I love Daytona Road Course. I love Richmond, but you need to really dial in those setups and get those right, which can be a big pain. It really
Yeah,
depends on who I'm racing with and what the cars are.
Uh,
But if I had to say I wanted any track for SBRL to go to, ooh, hmm, I would have to say Glen. If we could get those setups perfected, I want to go to Glen so bad, or Sonoma.
that is a really good track, actually. I did not think about that. Do you think the SBL could actually last on a 2 or maybe 3 road course schedule?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Some of the road courses that we've been on, they've become really good, especially with the finishes. Um, I've noticed that a lot of the other guys they love racing on the road courses too. Some of them not so much, just because it's I don't know, turning right is difficult. But personally, I love it, and even if I'm running way in the back, just being side by side with someone, being that close on a road course, it's a lot of fun.
I've never really found myself being a kind of a road course person, but it's good that other people like really enjoy that. Um, if there's one thing that I kind of find is annoying about the schedule is that we don't have a lot of those kind of like vibrant tracks. I mean, we've gone to Twin Ring Motegi, which I really liked. I really like going to different tracks like Road Atlanta and other things. But I feel like maybe we need to go like across the other side of the world. Like we could be going out racing like F1 tracks. Like we could be going out and racing those kind of tight hairpin circuits that might cause a lot more fun racing and might also cause a controversy. So there's some negatives, some positives. Um,
From from personal experience, stock cars don't belong on an F1 track. Um, it takes a lot of time to get the setups right for the racing to actually be good. And for SBRL themselves, I don't think that more than half of these drivers could last on an international course. Um, Even just Road Atlanta last season, it was a struggle for a lot of guys.
yeah.
So I don't think we'll ever go to an international track, and I honestly hope we don't.
Um. So we talked about a lot of your on track stuff. So off track. So you were born and raised in, I believe, from what I remember correctly, northern Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
So what was it like growing up in Minnesota? What's kind of the culture there, and also what got you into road racing in general?
Well, growing up, I have my brother and my sister. And my brother, he left us a while back. He went to go live with someone else, and he's all grown up now. But it's fun. I mean, the weather is always really nice here every single summer, especially this one. I mean, we have perfect weather all week, and then we have for the past couple weeks. It's great because you get to experience all 4 seasons at their best and at their worst all in one year. And it's more of a it's not really populated up here either, so I mean, if I even just go to like my local gas station, I'm going to know everyone inside that store. Even if I drive like 20 or 30 miles out, I'm going to meet people I know. It's a very close community.
That's nice. The small town is. Do you think that that kind of small town feel kind of got you into NASCAR, or was NASCAR a separate thing from that?
Um I've always been a fan of racing. Not specifically racing for like what it is as we see like NASCAR, but growing up, um I was into cars. I watched Cars a lot. The 2005 film. I loved it. I
Oh,
loved it so much. And that's really all I would do for a while. I kind of fell out of it, but a couple years back now, the final movie came out to finish the trilogy. And one day, I just thought, what if I wanted to do racing? What if I wanted to do driving? And a little known thing, like I was terrified of driving for a really long time. My mother, she experienced a very bad car accident. and it left her paralyzed from the legs down. So I was always afraid of driving. I was scared. But trying it out in a virtual world made me more confident, especially with the skills that I had showing forward. You know,
Yeah.
I knew that I could definitely control the car.
Wow, that's quite an origin story. Um, Unfortunate to hear about that though. Do you still live with like your parents, or is it more of just like on your own now?
Next month actually, I'm moving out. I'm getting out of here. I was supposed to
Oh,
actually in 1 week from today, I was scheduled to move out, but me and my friend were talking about it. We're like, you know what? Let's just wait one more month. One more month. And so we
uh,
did. And so in about 1 month from now, exactly, I think might be the move-in date if we have get all the paperwork finalized.
exciting.
Yeah. But otherwise,
And
right now, I got my nephew and my sister and just my dad now too.
well, moving out is it a good is it a big thing for you? Is it are you kind of scared about it, or what's it
I'm
like?
not scared about it much anymore. I'm definitely excited to be on my own. The reason I love to be at home. I mean, before my mom passed away, I was a big suck up to my mom, you know. So I loved being at home and I love being by her. But now that she's passed, I feel a lot more comfortable with reaching out. I mean, I've gone on major drives. I've gone across the state and back, just chilling, relaxing, enjoying, trying to figure out what's out there. I plan on going out and doing a road trip either to Cali or Tennessee and just exploring what's down there.
Come down to
So,
Iowa.
yeah. If I do Tennessee, I'm definitely stopping to go see you or Iowa.
W. Yo. So speaking of moving, so in general, there's been a lot of moving just again with the teams and moving around and stuff. And do you miss being with F7, or is that something that's kind of long gone, something that you've kind of left behind?
Wait, what was the question again?
So I remember you parted from F7 in season five. Was that like was that kind of the? Did you feel like you were never going to be able to come back, or was it more of like a what was
I
it
didn't
like?
think I didn't think I was gonna come back. I thought I was done. Um, I knew that if I was gonna start working, then I would. That's what I was gonna be focused on, and I was. And fuck, I was really good at my fucking job too. But I got a schedule change to match up with schooling because I had finals.
Oh,
So I had it was Fridays. I had Fridays off for a bit, and then I had Saturdays off because they had too many people working Saturdays, I guess. So yeah, I came back. Um, before I even quote unquote retired from it, uh, there was a lot of problems between drivers at F7. Obviously, there was Clef, but there was also Cal. I never really had any problems with V12, but he definitely probably wasn't appreciative of how aggressive I was. Um, but yeah, I came back. I didn't think I was ever gonna go back to F7. I was talking to V12 there, and I definitely did want to go make my own team because I knew we were gonna be coming up with D2, and I just wanted to get in on all of that.
just a wild ride. Um, Chip, do you have any other questions that you would like to ask? Do you have, since you are the co-host?
You know, I actually do have a question. Ire, what hobbies do you like to do? That is, besides road racing, like in reality.
I
What?
mean, I fell off from video games. I don't really like doing video games anymore. Now I like to. I'm starting to get into photography and a bit of journalism actually. I love writing like little mini articles to myself, whether it's about space. I don't really like getting into politics, but I'm gonna have to now. So I like getting into that. I like reading about the stock market and a lot of financial things. I'm taking college classes in economics and all that good stuff. But I mean, that's just in my room. Otherwise, outside, I love basketball. And last year, I took up football, which I regretted not doing most of my high school years. I loved football so much, dude. Um, Otherwise, I love really any sport that there is besides hockey, because I do not have the fucking balance to do that shit.
I see.
12 angry.
Rito doesn't even like sports.
Oh,
He
well,
doesn't.
we learn something new every day.
Also, when are you expected to begin college?
Begin college next month, like about maybe a week after I move in.
I see.
College is not something I'm worried about exactly. It's more of just finding my place in the world and where I wanna, go with it.
There's there's a lot of things you can do in college. Do you have a plan on what you're gonna do in college? Or is there kind of going in?
I'm not
No.
majoring in anything right now. I'm just taking my generals.
Okay.
But I do have all my classes scheduled. I know the first day. I know when I'm supposed to be there. Some of my classes are online, but I'm okay with that. Otherwise, it's just I'm gonna ride out a year or two of college until I figure out what I truly want to do with my life, and then pursue it from there.
Okay. Well, what else do I really have to say? I mean, I've kind of ran out of some of my questions. Ooh, so when you first came to F7, were there
Yeah.
any kind of like was it kind of hard to kind of like fit in that seat? Was it like your first time? Were you kind of afraid of joining SBRL and like racing on backstretches and stuff?
When I got into the server, I mean, I've known V12 a while now. Definitely not as long as some of the guys here, but I met him back in BBR when I first like got into racing on at least this platform. Um, and I actually helped him get into row racing. I convinced him to join BWT back in I think it was season 3. And so he eventually invited me. I don't remember how I got invited, but I think he just asked me one day. And I joined, and he offered me a ride because it was kind of like a package deal. Hey, you join, I'll give you a ride. But I joined, and I seen all of the activity in the server, and I definitely was nervous. I mean, there were big names like Nerfy and uh, Nerf, Deadly Fox, and Yerb, and I didn't want to mess them up. I mean, we were late in the season, and I was nervous about really doing anything. All I wanted to do was really just push V12 to a win, because I know he got screwed over a lot in BBR eras.
So you speaking of which, the other past champions, did you have any kind of like experiences with them? Did they kind of teach you anything about the BBR era? Did you have any kind of interaction with them besides just like racing?
It's funny, because I mean, it never was truly a thing, but I made Yerb my girlfriend. That
Oh,
was just like a little inside joke that we had going for a long time there.
oh my
But
God.
but otherwise, I never really learned anything like directly from these guys on the track. I definitely looked at their style of racing and how I could, get around it. Um, but BBR was just really not my thing. I was not the best out of it, by all means. But as I got more comfortable going into season 3, I definitely wanted to at least try and get some wins, and I think I did. But I knew I didn't think it was possible for me to be contention for a championship.
All right. We Um, I think now we can start asking some questions from the audience if they would like to ask questions. They can if they feel like they would like to. Um,
Since they can't talk,
well,
they can say it in no.
yes,
They can ask him no mic.
yeah, ask a no mic. So, Iron, what was it like? So, of course, F7 is in Canada, right?
Yeah.
So so when you decided to join, so you went from northern Minnesota all up to Canada. Was there a big difference from going from the U.S. to Canada? Do you have anything from just joining? Uh,
No, nothing really changed. I mean, in Minnesota, there's a lot of Canadians here, especially if I drive up north. Just a little bit more. I'll meet a lot of people, even in our casinos. There'll be a lot of big, rich Canadian people that'll come down, and they'll just bet a shit ton of money. And so I've never gotten to personally talk to any of them, but it's not much different. Not as different as you think. Because, I mean, we're right on the border with Canada.
uh, there's also this thing with just road racing in general. The
Mhm.
mythical, the almost legendary jackknife. And there's been some issues with just like jackknifing in general on the finish, just like in general, just getting tangled up. Everybody knows what that move is, and everyone knows what happens. Usually, the car that's straight has to pull back.
Yep.
Do you remember, like, any kind of incident where you've been jackknifed and you've been like completely wronged, or any kind of moment where you've been jackknifed and just like you just never wanted to pull out, or a feeling like it's like coming for the win, and you felt like you could jackknife someone for the win? Has that ever happened to you?
I know what happened at Phoenix today, but that wasn't by choice. Um, I can't remember a time where I intentionally jackknifed someone. That's just a dirty move. It's a dumb move, and I hate it happening to me. I know there's probably been a time or two when I've slid up the track and I've been in a jackknife position coming to the line, but I don't exactly have one in my head.
Okay. Yeah. There's probably a lot of things that there's probably a lot of incidents that we haven't like found yet of jackknifes happening and people getting really angry about it. Um, I think it was Darlington. Last no, Darlington season 5. I remember it was my rookie season as a full time driver, and I remember I
Mhm.
accidentally jackknifed Clef, coming out of the final corner, and I got my win taken away. Have you ever gotten a win taken away from you that you felt was kind of like Phoenix here, that you felt like was either undeserved or hasn't felt like
Oh, dude,
didn't feel complete?
plenty of fucking times. I mean,
Do you have any
Phoenix, I knew I
examples?
was getting that win taken away. We look back to my BBR era, um, or not BBR era, BWT era. There, we were at Richmond, and we were at Martinsville a couple of times there. The the league owner, his name was Slippy. He bent the rules a lot, and I lapped every single person, and I lapped them fairly, and I lapped them cleanly. It was probably my best performance I've ever had on a track, and I lapped every single car by the stage. But Slippy, league owner, he said to make it fair, which I thought was stupid because all the cars were built the same. He threw a competition caution and he put everyone else back on the lead lap. And from there, I just got completely overran and smothered by the other drivers who were now right behind me. And it was stupid. It was unfair to me, and I definitely deserved to win that race.
Yeah, that is just not right whatsoever. Like that, I I think I've seen Slippy before. I haven't. I've only raced one BWT race. I think it was Monza. I think that was the track. I think it was a road
No,
course.
it was Brazil, wasn't it?
It was Brazil. No, yeah, it was Brazil. My bad. I I don't know. So Slippy just kind of seemed like he was a little off with his officiating and stuff, but that is just straight up evil. Like what do you mean? Okay, I don't know how he would think that would make it anywhere fair, but like that, like honestly, if you're able to lap the field in a good stretch of the race, and you're clearly able to pass these cars without having any kind of like problem, then you should lap all those cars and you should win the race. You should have a like basically almost Martin Truex Charlotte domination like race. Just let them have it. They clearly deserved it. So yeah, I don't know.
I was pissed for a really long time
I would be too.
about that. Check your DMs if you haven't.
Yes. Let me do that.
No, another race like that where I was dominant. Gateway and BWT, both races actually. Little story, but the first Gateway we ran, I think it was BWT Season 5. I lapped every single car on the field besides Shifty. And I was gonna catch him. But he was just a bit too fast. I had the perfect pit strategy, I had the speed definitely, and I ended up winning that race by a really good margin. I think Slippy wanted to throw a caution, but he didn't. And he just let me drive away with it. The season after we went to Gateway again, I had another major lead. And I was kind of fooling around. I think it was mid-playoff. And I had another major lead. And I thought, well, if I pitted right now, that would make Shifty and V12 competitive.
I swear to God,
And
I thought it was loud.
Was it Loudon? It probably was Loudon then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Loudon's just like Gateway, but it's smaller. But
Yeah. I don't blame you for mistaking.
Sort of, yeah.
But yeah, continue on. My bad.
yeah, Shifty was like, "Yo, you should pit. You should pit." Everyone was like, "Yeah, you should pit," and I thought it'd be funny. I thought I have to say, I got cocky. Definitely was cocky. I was like, you know what, fuck it. I went down pit road, and I went behind Shifty. There was not enough laps left, and I just ended up finishing P2 or P3 or whatever it was. It was a fun race, though. Back in those late BWT days, it was a lot of fun driving with those guys.
BWT was a pretty fun league. I've the the whole like the whole like setups are so much different than most of the road racing leagues that we're probably more used to with the tank chassis. So going back to the boring tank chassis compared to BWTs, interesting setups. So coming back to SBRL, you probably have the most records that has to do with wins. I remember you have the most wins in a season. That was the championship season with 7. You had the most wins in a row, 3, and I believe there's one more that I have not got yet. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, that like how do you even do that? For for example, just kind of like give us a rundown of like what it's like to just be that dumb. Like did you feel like you deserve those? Did you feel like that you ran like you should have, or you feel like you could have ran any better on those seasons? Have you felt like you could?
I definitely could have ran better. I mean, there was a couple races where I got screwed out of a win, or I made a mistake and I just couldn't capitalize and fight my way back. I definitely could have had more wins. Believe it or not, my goal for the end of the season was, I think it was double-digit wins.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a big goal.
That's big. That's a major.
That's a big goal.
But what does it feel like to be that down? It's just road racing at the end of the day, right? The race is over, everyone moves on, and then we do it all again next week.
Yeah.
But it's in the moment, it feels great. It's such a great feeling when you cross the line first, especially after knowing that you deserved it. And I will not deny, I deserved every single one of those wins that I got that season. If anyone wants to challenge that, we can definitely talk about it. But
Yeah.
I was the fastest car, and I think that, I don't really know what else to say about it.
Wasn't that the season where you were like so far out, like that championship season where you were so far out in points that V12 would have to do like something drastic to be able to win the championship? That was Chase.
Yeah, going into the Homestead race, all I had to do was show up. All I had to do was show up, and I would have won the championship. And guess what I finished in the final race of the season? I finished dead fucking last. Dead last. And I still won the championship by, I think it was like 10 points.
Wow. Speaking of the chase system, did you actually like having the chase system like in SPL, or do you prefer the playoff system?
I didn't like the chase system for the simple fact that if you didn't show up, you're not going to move on. This is just a hobby for a lot of guys, and it is for me too. And there are days where there are just some things that are more important. There are just some things that are going on, and obviously you can't show up. And I prefer the playoff format just for the simple fact that if you win and you get in. It may suck because a driver that might be undeserving might get in, but if it gives the drivers that can't show up all the time a chance to keep moving forward.
Yeah. There are some people in here that I think kind of deserve a little more spotlight, but of course they always get screwed over, or there's always that kind of like schedule mishap that they just lose out on a chance to either fight for a championship or to fight in the playoffs like they deserve. It's it's crazy. The whole like Espirala like system. I remember season 4 in the point system. Like the whole like shifty V12 system where it was I think V12 had to, if he qualified on pole, I believe he would have clinched it. But if he didn't, it would be like really close. Or no, I got it wrong. Shifty had to pass V12 like 4 positions to win the championship. Correctly.
The deficit was 3 points pre-race, if I remember correctly.
So it was 3 positions.
Neither of
2
us.
positions.
It was 8 points.
No,
it was 8 points, but someone got stage win or something.
Oh.
What?
Wait, were there stages back then?
There was
no. I think Shifty got pole, or did V12
pole?
Get pole?
He got pole.
Okay. Then then just like the fact that you could go into the championship race and not have a chance sometimes kind of fucks with my brain. Yes, I said that word. But I mean it's just something that doesn't make sense to me how on the final race you can't have even stats. I mean, of course, I come from a league where the Winston style format was what we ran with. So if you were fast and consistent, you would win the championship. So
the format was also sort of modified as well.
Yeah,
it was sort of
definitely modified.
Because
but I mean
it also determined on how much people showed up per race as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, the playoff system to me is just a lot more fun, especially for SBRL. And I agree with you, Dave, that it gives drivers a better chance to kind of just show up to the races if they can't. So I mean, it it's up to the question. I think we stay with a with this point system, but I mean, if we're talking about the future of SBRL, do you think we could possibly that there could be a change in place at some point in the future, or do you think it's just going to stay playoffs for the rest of SBRL's existence?
Um, I don't know if it's going to change or not, but I definitely do hope it's going to stay playoffs. Uh, it creates great racing, especially in the chases we learned. I mean, Pocono last season was absolutely incredible. That was great. I loved that race so much. A
Pocono
lot
two,
of tension.
Pocono two, or Pocono one? Because I believe
Pocono
there were
2.
two Poconos. Pocono two.
Pocono 2.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
Continue.
it just creates a lot of good racing. I mean, Dega last season also was a bit tense. I got kicked out first round because, I mean, I missed the race. I was out with my girl that weekend. It was prom. So I had to miss it, obviously. Um, yeah, but then I was in a must-win situation, and like I said, I mean, a driver that deserves to move up. I mean, 3 wins in a season, 3 in a row after missing half. I feel like you definitely deserve to get up there. So that's one of those situations where playoffs do benefit, and I do hope it stays like that.
Yeah, and then there's also those kind of disadvantages where it's again schedules, because then it's not over the span of like 8 races where you could possibly make up a comeback. Now it's all just 3 races. If you can't show up in those 3 weeks,
I have it.
you're out.
Yeah,
There's no
I
way.
suffered with
It's my
that in
iPhone.
BWT as well.
Huh?
I missed one race, and I think we were chase format.
No, keep it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I ended up
Yeah.
getting kicked out of the playoffs because of that, because I missed one single race. For the same exact reason I missed the race prior to Talladega too, I believe.
Yeah. Which actually, on the topic of super speedways, has super speedway racing kind of changed throughout the years of SBRL? Has it became better? Has it became worse? What are your opinions on the super speedway racing here in SBRL?
The racing has become more. I mean, back when we first started, we didn't have bump draft, which sucked, and the setups and the track that we have, it's changed a lot too, and definitely for the better. As we saw with the D2 race and the D1 race, it was incredible. I loved it. I love those races so much. Not only because if things are more specific and they're more technical, that means that people who, understand that are going to take advantage of that and they're going to improve. In the 500 this season, I definitely did, and I was up front a lot. Just because I learned how to manage the single file racing and manage the runs when I needed to. It was just a lot of fun. I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
I agree. The racing is actually probably one of my. It's probably my favorite as racing, but there is one downside to the more modern SBR, especially season 7 with the super speedway racing, and that's with the most controversial topic when it comes to super speedway racing in SBRL, the field limit. Your opinions on adding 12-car fields rather than the average 9 or 8 that they would put on super speedway races.
12-car field at super speedways. That sounds great to me. Even if it's just like for the front runners, it's not going to affect you that much. Like your NXSs, the V12s, me, Shifty, you're still going to be running up front. But when you get shuffled to the back, there's just going to be a lot more action. And it's better for the racing, in my opinion. I love it that way. We experienced it at the Daytonas this week or this season, and everyone enjoyed it. It was a major success for the league, and I sure hope that we do not go back to 9-car fields.
I'm not saying that I despise the 12-car fields. I've just kind of had a negative. It's just because I've had a problem with my internet for a long time now, so that's probably the one reason why I don't like it. I would prefer maybe bring it down to 11 and have just one host in particular, or maybe 10 cars and have a host, or 12 cars and remove a lot of the infield if possible. Just do anything to kind of reduce the amount of lag. I know that getting rid of the infield wouldn't do very much, but it would do a decent bit. It would do enough to kind of ease with the V-lagging, because that was probably the major problem with the 500s, that people were V-lagging, people were freezing, people were wrecking, all because of, the fact that they were lagging because of the amount of cars and particles. I believe even invis a couple people, and even still, it was still pretty laggy. I mean, I just tried to survive the whole race. I don't know about you. You were running up front a lot, so you probably didn't have the same issues that I did. But different perspectives.
Looking at it, now that I have my new PC and I have better Wi-Fi, I don't experience any more VLAG anymore. So that's a major plus side. I used to struggle with it horribly back in the day, and I don't even know how I won some of the races I did with it. But me personally, I love the new 12-car fields. I really wish that we all didn't have to deal with VLAG. I don't know what happened, but months and months ago, we didn't have to deal with VLAG. And I really miss it, actually. The bigger fields were a lot more fun. Also, sponsored by Coca-Cola.
Promotion.
Team Coca-Cola for life.
Promotion.
Team Coca-Cola for life.
I am not going to insert any sponsors because this is going on Spotify, so we do not want to.
No comment.
Oh shit, I'm getting sued. No,
yeah, you're gonna get us sued.
I'm getting
No
sued.
You're gonna get us banned, Curtis! How dare you! Look what you've done! No, but in all seriousness, sponsors. Do you remember what your first sponsor was? Joining SBRL, like what your first car you ran was an F7 sponsor car, or was it?
SBRL. Yeah, I ran the 37 Mac Toyota. That was a really nice car. I can pull up an image for it for everyone.
I don't think I've seen it actually just yet.
I think everyone has saw it. They just probably don't remember it. They've probably seen
I think I do.
it with a different banner. Yeah, I found it here.
I think I still remember it.
Otherwise, I know V12 could definitely just find it in a second. It's a no mic.
Oh yes,
Yep.
yes, that one.
Yep. First car I ever ran. Otherwise, I don't remember driving a different car.
Yo, he drove Halal's car.
Yeah. I didn't have it with my name on the banner, so I just put that in there. The blue version?
Dude, there was a blue version?
I don't remember there being a blue version.
Huh. Well, it's a mystery.
He probably has it way in his stash somewhere.
He's one of those people that always has a scheme on hand.
No, I did not. No, I did not run that. I can verify I did not run it with the blue version. That is the first time I've ever seen it. But I'm an old guy. I don't know.
Yeah. Mac that's a trucker company, if I can recall. I don't want to.
Yeah, they make some good trucks.
Okay,
there's a lot of them around here.
Good trucks. They make good trucks. Do you remember some of your older crew from? Do you remember having a good team behind the 37 team when you guys were winning championships and stuff? Or do you remember when you get any particular characters you would like to mention from that team?
I don't know exactly what you mean by that.
So basically, each team has, its pit crew members, its crew chiefs, its car chiefs, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember any particular like times where you were crew chiefed by maybe another driver, or maybe someone else? just like, do you remember having like that headset in your ear? And do you remember if you enjoyed it, or did it add a lot of stress? I've always, with having crew chiefs, I've always kind of stressed myself because I feel like somebody was always watching me.
Um, Actually, no. There were times where I'd ask V12 like something during pre-race, like, "Oh yeah, how far can we go on fuel?" or something like that. Or I'd talk to him mid-race and say, "Hey, when do you want to pit?" or something like that. It's always been driver to driver, and even then, it was very, very limited. Otherwise, I'm the type of person that likes to keep to myself. I think about myself a lot during the races, not because I'm selfish, but I don't really know how I would put it. But the things that I do know about the SBRL cars, the things that I did know about the BWT cars and all the other cars I drove before, I kept to myself because that just gives me a competitive advantage over the other drivers in the field. So I
I
never
see.
really talked to anyone else.
Does it sometimes? I mean, there's always that part of me that like wishes that the SBRL had something more for like maybe people that don't want to race, but that would cause so much lag. And like I was thinking like having crew chiefs so they have the fuel monitor. I've had several ideas for kind of cool little things where it's like there's someone in the pit box that can see the fuel and will tell you when to come in, or something like that, or something more like pacing. They're just like little kind of cool things. Do you have any kind of like interesting like things you could add to SPRL you think would make it a better league in general? Any kind of like
Um,
features?
no features. I don't think. It definitely would have to be a lot more organized for things to be added. I know there are things that can be added that I would like. It probably wouldn't make the league better for some of the people here. I noticed that a lot of people just like to keep it simple. So I don't think adding too many new things would be beneficial to the league. But personally, I love when there's a lot of different things that you have to look at going into a race weekend beyond just fuel and how many laps there is.
Yeah. Um. For so the fuel system here in SPRL, it's not like some of the other like leagues that probably you or I have ran in where it's coasting will let you kind of save some fuel. In SPRL, it's more of like a tire, like the spin counting.
Hmm.
So if so it kind of not as fuel efficient, but it's kind of a staple for SPRL. Do you think that could be a change, like may make it so that when you let off the throttle, you can kind of save fuel and stuff, or do you feel like it'd be a lot better if it was just the way how it is?
I'm 100% fine with how it is. It keeps it simple, and like I said before, people do not want to be sitting there constantly thinking about their fuel and how much they're saving. I feel like people already are having a hard enough time just controlling their cars in some situations. So keeping it simple for the drivers here, I feel like, is probably the most beneficial thing that we can do for the league right now.
Yeah. But I mean, I like the idea of adding like some new kind of things that will kind of make, because I mean you have to admit this is one of the leagues that you're probably in that has people that take it way more seriously than you probably have ever seen.
Oh
Like there are a
no!
couple people here that
Oh,
take this serious.
oh no, dude! I've been in leagues that are just like that's all they do. That's all they talked about. And I mean, I was even one of those persons back in BWT days. I just sat there and all I thought about was the week is about how I can perfect this corner, what lap I'm gonna pit, how I'm gonna pit correctly, what part of the apron I'm gonna grab to help me get a better drive off. I just sat there and I thought about these things. I was one of those people.
I mean, I can kind of see, yeah, why adding different kind of things would cause it to change, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that's really the just kind of like all the stuff I have for the new SPRL.
We should have the chat ask some questions, yo.
Yeah, we have a lot of people in
Yeah,
here.
we have a lot of people here. Nobody said a single thing.
We have a mob in here, yo. Let's see if
Yes.
anybody's. Bro could not answer his
Well,
any
well,
question.
just speak in no mic. So
You
just
can't.
kind of tell us your questions.
You can't speak in here besides us. You can say it in no mic. Yeah, you guys can ask questions if you want. Like at any moment.
Any questions for the Great Iron?
We're gonna have
Cricket.
some cricket noises. Oh my goodness.
Okay, do not respond to
Alright,
that one,
alright, alright,
please.
alright, alright, alright.
Okay,
Alright.
moderators, ban him
Time him
now.
out, time him out, time him out.
I didn't eat
Time him out.
breakfast.
I'm joking.
I did not eat breakfast.
Okay. Okay.
Clef asked Iron if he wanted breakfast. I
Mods hit this
Mods
up
get him.
now.
Oh my goodness,
Mods
monkey!
get him.
Monkey! Chat, is this real?
Oh, Monkey's alive. He actually asked a great question.
Chat, is this
Do
real?
you think you're gonna retire at some point?
Hopefully never. I mean, obviously there's gonna be a point in time where I just quit playing. You know,
Oh yeah,
But-
Video game.
I have a question. Oh yeah. How
But-
much have your interest level went up or down for roll racing?
that'll tie into kind of like this question that I'm answering.
Alright.
But it really depends. Really, until I get bored of it. I'm not now. I still, like the day before, like even right now, I woke up this morning, I was like, hey, I have a race today. And I get really fucking excited.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really all I think about. I count down the hours until we get there. Excuse me. So, yeah, interest level really, it's definitely gone down. Because I'm not taking it, too seriously. I mean, I lose one weekend, that's okay. Usually I'd be upset if I didn't win one race a weekend. But now it's just like, well, it's whatever. There's always next weekend, But I can't give you an exact time on when I'm going to hang it up. I know college is starting soon, and I know I'm going to have to be balancing a full-time work schedule plus more. So, maybe then. Maybe, one more month, and that'll be it. Maybe this will be my final season. Maybe I'll have one or two more in me. But I'll never truly know. Yeah, interest level, it's gone down, but not as much as you might think.
Monkey just asked a question. In no
Monk just asked a question. So Monk asked, if there are any drivers that you have an eye on for a D1 team, are there any drivers that you think are worthy enough? So, out of the D2 field, is there particular drivers that kind of stand out to you that could be D1 material that you could possibly take in to the FE?
I have to look at the. I wasn't really looking at any of the D2 teams or drivers right now. There's not. I knew I looked at them before and I didn't really see anything much. But I brought up a bunch of the Bro Bunch guys before. I had a lot of faith in them. I know. I mean, Aiden's been in here a while, and he's definitely performing really well. But otherwise, there's not really anyone that I exactly have my eye on. I know there are drivers that, with my Project 91 car that I'm making, I want to see what they can do on a D1 track, and maybe I'll give them more extensions in that car, or maybe I'll open up a different charter and then give them an actual ride.
Do you think that D1, like owning a team in D1, is it different from owning a team in D2, or is it almost the exact same thing?
I noticed with that it's almost the same. Basically the same. In D2 it's a bit more chaotic and you really don't, I don't want to say care that much, but a loss is a loss if you're a D1 team owner. I know there's a Hot Rat Racing, and I really frown upon what they have going over there. I mean, they just sign any driver, they'll just take any car, they'll take any number, any company, any Basically, they'll take whatever they can get. They'll sign a driver without really thinking about it, and I really frown upon that. Looking
Yeah.
towards D1, I know there are plenty of drivers I can give a D2 ride right now, or a D1 ride right now, especially from D2. But I'm just waiting. I want to find the drivers that are going to want to stay and drivers that are going to want to actually get better.
Yeah. I can understand that. There's tons of people that kind of have potential, but you kind of want to wait and see if they actually really have that kind of, staying power when it comes to sticking with your team and stuff.
The way I like
Speaking
to
of
see
which,
it,
Monkey with another question.
Jesus, monkey. But to finish off that question, the way I like to see it, if you're not willing to go for the gap, even the smallest of ones, then I don't want you on my team. You need to be able to throw yourself into places that you're uncomfortable with to win a race.
yeah,
Alright.
I agree. By the way, Muck asked a question. So, what D2 drivers do you feel like you would like to see in the D1 field in the future?
There's not really too many. I feel like if you're in D2 right now, then that means that you are a D2 driver. There was this, what was his name? Trainwreck. He was a great driver, right? He has showed a lot of skill, but he's very cocky and aggressive, and, I would like to see more competition in the D1 field. So, I mean, if he cleared his act up and he wanted to, take this serious, I don't think he's here anymore. Or at least active. I mean, I could definitely see him up in the D1 field, and it'd be nice to race against him when he's not, having issues.
Understandable. Speaking of people that might not be here right now, there has been a recent incident with Jack X Gray, that happened at Homestead with the backwards car incident at Homestead. Do you have any kind of input? Do you remember being there? Do you remember seeing it? Do you remember what was your kind of thought about just that entire event in general?
So, explain in more. I wasn't there. I definitely wasn't there.
Yeah, I
But
wasn't there. Neither was I.
to put this is something that I feel like we need to finally normalize in this league. We need to take away drivers' licenses when we know they are idiots. Jack, we've known him for a long time. We know he's young, he's cocky, and he's stupid. He's gonna do dumb things. He thinks he's better than he is. There is no humbling him. And when you piss him off, he's a kid. He's gonna throw a tantrum. He's gonna try and get back at you. And that's exactly what happened. First time, I think, in SBRL's history where a driver has drone backwards on, during green flag.
Like mid race, yeah.
Yeah, mid-race. And we need to normalize taking away drivers' licenses that don't belong on the track.
Also, keep in mind, he was below Discord TOS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
There,
but was not old.
actually, yeah, that would be a great feature to add to SBRL. I hope we could get. I know there's a lot of young people here, and I know it's a platform for people that are younger and they want to, have more fun like that. But I feel like if it's a league, you need to be able to have there be an age requirement, and you need to pass some sort of test to be eligible for this, rather than just showing that you can drive in a circle, just like everyone else.
Try do tryouts are a good thing. They kind of tell you if the driver is going to be clean on the track or if they're not. But usually they're going to try to race as clean as they can and try to sound as nice as possible so that way they can just get in. And then once they're in, they feel like that they're good enough to run around and, be themselves, which usually leads to people being dumb, people making stupid decisions, people wrecking people for no reason. And if there were if there were people in this server that deserve to lose their license, what would we do? Would we ban them? Would we just kick them? Would we
The,
just make them prevent them from being able to talk on racing servers for the racing channels? What would we do?
we just need to take away their licenses, and there's no like, there's no other way to do it. Not to be controversial or throw any shade, but we look down to some of our D2 racers, and they are just pathetic. They create issues. They're just really not good. They don't. There should be a bar that is set that allows you to race on track every single week. Hot Rod, he was a D1 driver. He got sent down to D2, and even now, I don't think he deserves a spot on the track. Not to throw shade. I mean, he's a great guy when he wants to be, and he's an even better driver. But he just does not have the ability to perform on track every single weekend. There are drivers even in D1 right now. Yeah, I was just about to answer that. Thank you, Monkey. To again, not trying to throw shade, but there are drivers in D1 that I don't think deserve a D1 ride right now. Hayden. Not because he's not the best driver in the field, not because he's makes a lot of mistakes. I just don't think he has proven himself to be a D1 driver right now. I don't think he has. He fails D2 qualifying. He fails D1 qualifying. He does not perform. He doesn't really win. And I don't really care if Caden's on the track or not. It's just my own personal experience. But
Yeah, I
otherwise,
mean,
there's not really much else to say about anyone else on the D1 field to my knowledge. I know there's drivers like Hallal that have a ride. He doesn't deserve to be on the field either. But otherwise, usually it's very chill. I like the D1 field that we have right now, and there's not really much else to complain about.
yeah, I mean, but you have to admit, Caden does kind of have to race on mobile, which is not the preferred way to race, especially in SVRL,
Yeah.
where there's not a lot of full throttle, there's not a lot of tracks where he can really prevail. I mean, the one track he did win at was the Super Speedway, so I mean that's really where most mobile drivers kind of have to shine is those Super Speedways because it's kind of hard to brake, it's hard to go left, right, and up and down over and over again. It just doesn't help. Like with the computer, you can do it.
I have to say something, and it's just I hate that we pity Caden for being on mobile. Everyone here drives on PC. It's not. I don't know why we are pitying him for mobile racing. Crazy. He's going to compete with drivers that are going to be above him, and he should be seen like such. It's his choice that he doesn't want to race on PC. He has the ability to get one. He knows how to get one. He just doesn't want to, and he told us that. So, I hate that we pity Caden, and I hate that arguably he's got to be the most overrated driver that we have on the field. But I love Caden though. He's a really great guy. But he's just not what we all want to see him as.
There are people that are overrated. There are people that I don't really want to say anything because Caden used to be my owner, and I mean, yes, we do kind of pity him for being on mobile, but he doesn't make him a bad person, doesn't make him a bad owner or anything in this league. He's still a good person. It's just sometimes we just kind of give him a little too much credit when he hasn't really proved a lot.
Yeah.
I think we just need to
aren't
wait till he gets on
pitying
PC.
Yeah, we aren't pitying Nerf and Clef for being on Xbox when it's not the preferred way to race.
Yeah.
I mean, Caden gets a lot out of outrunning me, and he flexes being on mobile, but he's been on mobile forever. Why are you flexing being on mobile and outrunning me? Especially that, infrequently. He should be seen like the rest of us. He's been on mobile this entire time and he definitely knows how to handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could, would you choose Xbox over an iPad per se?
I've never drove with either. I've never drove with a Xbox controller. I've run races on mobile, but I was not used to them and I didn't know what I was doing, so I did struggle. I'm definitely more used to a controller, so I would probably use a controller. Just for the simple fact that the screen would be bigger. And, Oh, Nerfy drives on Xbox with keyboard. Okay.
I mean, the controller could actually be a pretty good way to run it.
Yeah. It's just based on preference, and Caden does not want to use a PC. He's not working towards it, so I feel like we should stop pitying him for being on mobile.
Yeah. And actually, there's a question I've actually been meaning to ask some people. Do you remember a specific scheme from just anywhere you've seen from SBRL specifically that you think is or like deserves a title of like best scheme, at least in Iron's book? What is Iron's best scheme? Well, Iron's like most favorite scheme he's ever seen in SBRL play.
But for me personally, or as a whole.
Just you in general, like if you've seen something like for example
Like Urbs, like Metronic.
yeah, like yours, like Little Caesar's car, for example. Like what is your favorite scheme that you've seen in SBRO?
I don't think I have one. I don't really pay attention to the other cars. I don't look into the specifics of the cars. I know there are people like V12 that'll, pretty race, they'll look at everyone's schemes and they'll look at them and they'll rate them. But I don't do that. I only care about what number is on the car, or who's driving it, and where it is, or how close it is to me. I don't really care about schemes that much. I really only care about my schemes. Not because I'm selfish, but just because I want something that actually looks half decent when I'm driving around the track. But otherwise,
Understandable.
if I had to pick a favorite, it's definitely one of my schemes, and I think it would have to be my Season 5 Champ scheme. That car was absolutely beautiful. V12,
And
if
which
you
car
want to
was
put
it?
it in no mic, it's a beautiful car. I loved it so much.
Uh,
We're getting close
and
to the time. I'll say that. Because
yes,
10
yeah,
is in 15 minutes.
yeah. So we're gonna finish off with one last question. Um,
We should probably have
I think
chat ask again one more time as well.
And then after that, yeah.
yeah. Do you think you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish in SBRL with the career that you've had so far? But you are probably one of the more veteran people in this garage, in this stable. Do you think that you've accomplished everything that you could, or do you feel like you've accomplished everything that you're happy with
No.
at the end of the day
Not
in
everything.
SBRL?
I've been called underrated. I've been called overrated a lot. I've been called egotistical. I've been called every single thing in the book. But just to prove everyone wrong, I've had probably one of the worst seasons in SBRL history and probably one of the best. It's just a matter of fact is, can I do it again? So that's what I'm hoping to do this season. Hopefully break the win record once I can finally find my place and show up consistently. But I need that second D1 championship. once I do that, I can finally probably be okay with calling it quits from this league.
Now, we have one last question. From Jackie. Oh wait. It has something to do with teammates and actually, um, we could kind of rephrase that. Your previous teammates that you've had throughout your entire career, your previous teammates, like from F7, from uh FUR. Do you remember any teammates you had that either like helped you in a different way that like just kind of felt more like a teammate than any other teammate, or like your favorite teammates that you've had in your career?
I don't like. I usually don't want teammates unless I can see them like from a friend perspective. Um, favorite teammate by far was V12, but I definitely saw him as just more than just a teammate. Um, I mean, I loved learning with V12 because he definitely took it more seriously, and he definitely listened to what I had to say, especially back in the BWT days about certain things. And the chemistry with him was really good, even on certain super speedways when we could. I just had to give a big shout out to him because not only did he help bring me here, but he definitely did make me a better driver.
I see. Well, that's basically what we have here for Down the Backstretch. Thank you everybody for joining, or thank you everyone for listening. Thank you Shifty for showing up. Thank you Iron for answering these questions.
We got
Thank you
two questions.
everybody.
Two more
questions?
questions. Two more questions. Yeah, we got two here.
Okay. Let's answer them.
What are they? Do you think when you quit this league you'd expand your outlooks to different leagues? I assume you mean that if I quit this league that I would go to a different one? No. This is probably the last league or major league that I would ever take really seriously. I love it here and I don't really want to leave. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. So that answers that. And who are some people that are the most annoying off track? People that you could not stand talking to. Hollow. Hollow and Dirge. I hate Dirge with the passion. Caden gets up there on that list too. Caden definitely gets on that list. He gets on my nerves so fucking much. I want to say Hot Rat, but not because I don't like him. We just have very different personalities. He likes different things than I do, and we don't really get along in that sense. It's not that I don't like him, it's just we're two different people.
Yeah.
We are alike in that sense, Hot Rat. We are alike in that sense.
Clef asked you, what about
Controversial.
Clef? What about Clef?
What about Clef? Off track, I love bullying him.
Okay, that's
Wow.
that's
Oh,
fair.
I'm
a witness of that as well. I mean, to be fair, I'm a witness of that.
Dude, me and V12 we just fucking die at nighttime when we're sitting in VC with Clef and we're just bullying him. Probably one of my favorite things about this server is that we just bully Clef. I mean, it's not like we mean it. It's just a lot of fun. He's easy to pick on.
His reactions are also pretty funny.
Yeah. He's gonna sell his grandparents' love letters to each other.
Yes.
For money.
Well, that's that's a great note to end this on, actually.
That is an interesting conclusion to this podcast.
Yes. Thank you everybody for watching. Everybody who came in live, everyone who's listening on Spotify right now, thank you everybody. And just thank you Iron for showing up. Thank you Shifty for helping this be possible. Thank you V12 for giving us this VC we could talk in, and also getting people to start joining. At least I think. We just gotta get this wrapped up with. Thank you everybody. This was Down the Backstretch episode 1 with Iron, and that's what we have left. See y'all in the next episode.